already said that Tracy got really hot. She is excited for that.
It's the most light I could get. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Today is the first day for Mrs. Kraft's new life, and that life involves, first and foremost, seeing that this never happens to little girls or a school teacher of her caliber ever again. Sloppy interviews, corrupt judicial process, ridiculous last-minute, falsified, fraudulent evidence, terrible interviews of children, ridiculous rulings on evidence. She endured it all. She will continue to endure it all. And she will change the way children are interviewed, the way these processes come to court, and she's going to do it for the children and the families involved. If it wasn't for Mr. King and Mr. King, if she didn't have attorneys like Jacobs, King, and Wallace, if she didn't have attorneys like Clancy Colbert in Chattanooga, or me, or the ability to hawk the farm in the house that you're sitting in, she would have gone down like so many others in the Lookout Mountain Judicial District. And so she stood up to them. She fought them, not just for herself, but for all of the children that get swept up in these terrible, terrible processes, who now believe something that happened to them that did not happen to them, with crazy therapists, with mental illnesses, with lying cops, and cheating prosecutors who did nothing but attack people throughout this. She stood up to it all. She will continue to stand up for children and families that are falsely accused. That's what today is about. She's not done. She's just getting started. Tonya? Go ahead.
I really don't even know where to start. I just want to say that from the beginning, the only thing that's kept me going and fighting is my 2 children and all the kids that have been involved in this. Somebody's talked to me about TV and about my story. It's not about my story. It's about the kids' stories and what they go through in this. And other people that are accused, falsely accused. And I'll do anything I can to help protect them and to help protect the children of the falsely accused. Somebody told me that I would know who my friends were, and I've been, I was disappointed in a few, but the blessing and support I've had from all over the world has been incredible. I've gotten emails from Ontario, Canada to Tokyo, and I don't have enough words to say how much I appreciate the support and love and the prayers. Somebody also said that if God puts you, if God brings you to it, He'll bring you through it. And I thank God. I thank my mom and my dad.
If Mrs. Kraft didn't have the ability to hire attorneys like these, let me fix your... like Carrie King from Atlanta, like Scott King from Atlanta, like Clancy Covert from Chattanooga, Tennessee, who would work 14, 16 hours a day to deal with evidence that just suddenly appeared, to deal with rulings that violated not only the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law and basic fairness. If she didn't have people behind her like her friends, if she didn't have the best forensic social worker in the entire southeast United States, Nancy Aldridge, who got paid a pittance, and we trusted her to look at everything and to come in and testify what she thought. If she didn't have people like Bill Burnett from Vanderbilt, who literally wrote the book on the subject of children that have been maltreated, who would come here and testify for her and endure the kind of calumny and slander and the terrible things that were said to them when they took the witness stand. If Dr. Hazard from Emory hadn't looked at her kids and tried to stand up for her two children and come and testify, knowing that she'd endure the kind of horrors of cross-examination that was allowed to be heaped on her, if Dr. Fabian from Emory, Department of Pediatrics, hadn't said, there is no physical evidence here, Mrs. Kraft would have been doomed. We'll take your questions.
Tonya,
Go
I'm
ahead.
Steve Osensalmi with Good Morning America. I just wanted to ask you a couple questions because this may be our only chance to really talk with you. My first is, I saw you could barely walk into the courtroom. I saw you holding on to your lawyers for dear life. Tell me about what you thought when you heard the first, second, third, fourth not guilty.
Well, on the way there, I had to expect the worst and hope for the best. And when I heard the first one, obviously I was in shock in a positive way, but I had to wait until I heard the 22nd one to know that everyone's not guilty. A fog, just in a fog.
There was someone who I talked with outside the courthouse, one of your friends, who said that there really are no winners in this.
Absolutely not, and I said that when somebody says about winning, I said there is not a winner. There can be restoration, and there can be awareness for others to not go through this. But there's 2 birthdays for my daughter that I'll never get back, and there's no winners. Even all the children involved in this, there's no winners.
What about custody of your children?
We'll address that tomorrow.
Immediately, absolutely, immediately.
What about custody of, what about Steve, what about custody of all of the children who get put through this process? What about the kids that have been indoctrinated by incompetent interviewers? I mean, we've had emails and posts from interviewers all over the United States expressing outrage over this. What about them? What about these kids being put through this terrible process? If it wasn't for the resolve, for the fighting spirit of this woman fighting for these children, and then what is going to happen to these little girls that have been convinced by a therapist who's mentally ill, for goodness sakes? What is that about? What about these little girls? Do we need any more girls, Steve, that believe that they're victims? I don't think so.